Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is going to be interesting today. I've got my buddy Brad Bone here. We're going to be talking about a topic that we haven't talked about on the show for a while. Of course, there's a lot of evolution going on the tech side and AI, but we're going to talk about how AI is changing the real estate investing game or changing the game for real estate investors. So, Brad, great to see you, bud.
Good to see you, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about this because we dabble with a lot of technology, or of course I have my ear to the ground in the whole industry, and there's a lot of tech stuff going on, right? There's a lot of disruption going on, really. And I've been in the real estate game long enough. I'm going to date myself by saying this, but so long that I remember when there wasn't even a single CRM for real estate investors. It was just like find some other tool and bastardize it to work for you. But I used to say it was when they first started, it was kind of like caveman with laser gun. Like real estate investors were just not used to using technology. But the truth is, if you're not using technology these days, you're going to get left behind. So excited to share some knowledge here. So before we kind of jump in, I knew you before you were into AI, and I know that most real estate investors that start to solve a product or teach other people how to use a product usually solve their own problem first, right? They saw a need for themselves. And I know that's probably part of your story as well. So why don't you tell us how you got into real estate and then tell us how that led you down the path of using some AI technology?
Yeah. So this year, actually, we just passed, this year is about 10 years for us in real estate. I remember in 2014, I started buying at the courthouse steps. But then we started our entity in 2015. So we're coming up on 10 years of when we started, full time. So we've been in business for a long time. Like I was just thinking the other day, I remember when DocuSign was kind of new, the idea of like getting signatures, through electronically was like a new idea, novel concept. So, and now we're using AI. But yeah, we started fix and flipping about 10 years ago and just, started slow, doing 10 deals a month or 10 deals a year back then. It was my brother and I, we were partners, and then joined Investor Fuel in, I think 2018, somewhere in there, 17, 18. And then started growing at that point. So got around like-minded people and started growing. So, and then, AI became a buzzword a few years ago, at least kind of hit me a few years ago. And I started thinking, what is the biggest impact it can have for our business? And I feel like it's in lead management. Especially in follow-up. And there's a lot of uses for AI, but that's like the immediate thing I thought of is how do we re-engage sellers? And because that's something we all are bad at. Everyone trying to do follow-up is either not doing enough of it, or we're just even if we're doing it at a high level, it drains us. It's really something machines should do and let us have actual human conversations.
Yeah, I say that I've said this many times before. There's a lot, even outside of real estate, most small and medium businesses suck at following up with people or even answering the initial call. Like I'm certain that for almost any real estate or any small to mid-sized business, they could at least double their business just by being better at follow-up.
Yeah.
Because we've all probably called people that were like, I'm ready to give you money. And they either didn't answer at all, or you fill out a form and they don't respond to you right away, or maybe never. Like I've had people that I generate a lead for them and I'm the lead. And at this point, like there's a lot of stuff that I do in I spend a lot of money on stuff. I've got a ranch now. I've got there's literally even landscaping companies. Like I need a 6-figure job done and I'm talking to the owner and the owner doesn't even follow up with me. And it's crazy, right? Like how poor people are at following up with prospects, which is really what business is all about.
Yeah, it really is. It's what's interesting is we spend so much money on marketing. So it's the money's already been spent. And
Right.
now it's just sitting there, and like we're kind of very irresponsible if we're not doing follow up correctly.
Yeah.
So and we've been culprits of that, for sure. Like we all have, especially when you're starting a company and we've all failed at follow up. And so AI just becomes something that you can at least you know, do 0 to 1 on follow up. And in fact, it does a lot, but at least it gets something in place. So you've got a platform that's working your leads, and you don't have to worry about
Yeah. I think I'm glad we're going to talk mostly about follow up today and kind of lead management and stuff like that,
it.
because there's a lot of, I think for a lot of real estate investors, I mean, no, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here, but a lot of real estate investors, I feel like are a couple years behind other like people that are using technology for solutions. And so it's fine. I mean, you're probably making more money than those guys anyway in real estate, but let's just focus on I guess you could adopt tech a lot of places in your company, but what will have the biggest impact is really on leads and lead follow up, and stuff like that. So let's take a deep dive on that today. You know, the thing that's interesting, and share your thoughts on automation of this, is I think even people that are pretty good at answering the phone live and following up a couple times, I've seen studies before, and I can't quote any of them because I don't have any of them with me, but that people like stop following up after 2 or 3 attempts, like sometimes less,
Mhm.
right? But we both know, you and I know, as real estate investors, I mean, you bought houses from people that you followed up with for certainly months and years because they've been distressed for years or decades, and it just takes more follow up to get them over the goal line, right?
Yeah, I think the reason we don't follow up as much as we should is we start getting in our head about it. And the truth is, you should follow up more than you think by default that you should. It's always I don't know that there's very many people who follow up too much. I don't know that that's even a thing.
No.
So we should always be doing more than what we're doing now. And the nice thing about getting technology involved in that is there's no emotions with it. It's just going to do whatever you tell it to do.
Yeah.
And we get inside our heads, and that's what messes us up.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah. I think another big problem is that, and I'm all for, I mean, between our companies, I think we have 70 or 80 virtual staff members, and we
Mhm.
use a lot of virtual assistants, and we use high level executives as virtual staff as well. But I think a lot of investors are really quick to hand it off to, uh, a lower cost or a lower skill level person that it's generally a little bit harder for them to build rapport with a seller and understand their needs, especially if it's an overseas person. I mean, I'm not trying to be critical of
Yeah.
anyone. It's not the same as what you would do for acquisitions here in the US, right? The quality level of the conversations is just going to be lower. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I've thought about that too. It's interesting how in our industry we often put the lowest skilled, least paid people in follow up, and high ticket sales kind of does the opposite. They'll put killers on follow up. They'll have killers do cold calling, because they realize that's where the money is. And
Yeah.
we do a little bit of the opposite. And but the money's in the database, so you actually want high skilled people or high skilled systems working that, because that's money you've already paid for. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. I understand why it's done that way, but there's a need to improve there for sure.
Yeah. One of the things about a real estate investor, or really probably any small business, is that, if you're doing, it depends. Everybody's a little bit different. So when I say this, like there's an asterisk next to it, is you really have to do, depending on your overhead, 2 or 3 deals a month to break even,
Hmm.
right? But there's still a lot of people that are operating right at that break even point. And if you could, so you don't have to like 10x your business, but if
Hmm.
you could do 1 or 2 extra deals on the money you already spent with the same infrastructure you generally have, you don't really need more people. You don't even need more leads. If
Right.
you're generating leads now, you just need to convert more of the leads that you have. And those other deals are, I don't want to say 100% profit, but you don't have marketing costs. You don't have as much overhead. You're going to have some sales commissions in there or whatever. But those couple extra deals are, in my experience, the people that are like so-called crushing it or financially free from those that are like just getting by or surviving, right? It's just a little bit more. And so we're not talking about like go 10x your business. We're talking about just convert more of what you already have using the resources that you mostly already have. And you could have a transformational business.
Yeah, you really can. I think I've been. I feel like we've learned that over our 10 years too. It's like you start. First of all, it's a fun problem to solve because it doesn't require any extra money. So like if I can 30% increase my business without spending extra money, man, like I want to go figure out how to do that.
Right.
And the answers are always way simpler than you realize. The answers are always just make more phone calls and do follow up. We always think that there's a more complicated answer than that, but it's often the most profound answer is the simplest one. Yeah. So one thing we recently realized, and this is kind of embarrassing because we've been in business for 10 years, but the need to track our acquisition guys and their outbound calls made. And that's a basic thing, but you start tracking it closely and really holding them accountable to that, all of a sudden deals start coming in. So it's a simple solution, but follow up really does work.
Yeah. So let's talk about like channels here. So we're talking about follow up, and obviously you could follow up with email, you can follow up with text, phone calls, you could send direct mail. There's a lot of things that you could do. And in my experience, if real estate investors are doing historically a good job at follow up, they probably are using automation, like you said, because it's
Mhm.
easier to set it and forget it. But it's more often than not emails,
Yeah.
because you can kind of write those and literally let them run for years ultimately.
Mhm.
But it's not like voice and text type stuff. It might be a task for somebody to call or text them, but it's not necessarily, using AI or tools that can kind of start a conversation. So talk about, I guess, the channels, I guess some of the evolution that's happening here, and why that is more, I mean, I don't want to say more important, but it's certainly supplemental to people
Yeah.
that don't even read their emails. I mean, I get hundreds of emails a day and I don't read most of them.
Yeah. I think it's important when you go and find an AI platform to plug into your lead management department is to have a multi-channeled system. So um, email, text, voice calling, ringless voicemails, if those are legal in your state, um, at least those four channels, because everyone responds a little differently. Some people respond to emails, some people text, some people phone call. So yeah, I think the multi-channel is really important because you're still going to miss if you're only voice. There's a lot of AI bots out there that are voice only and they're impressive, but it's a single channel, and I think multi-channel is super important.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree, because it's first off, it's kind of omnipresence. You just
yeah,
seem like these guys really need me.
yeah.
But talk about like the evolution here, because I think, there used to be, again, probably dating myself here, but when I used to be able to call and press zero to talk to a live person, and now, you press zero and they're like, I'm sorry, that like that number, like you're gonna listen to our automation, or
Hmm.
you're not gonna get help at all. So I mean, maybe talk a little bit about kind of the just, I guess, tolerance for people to be to kind of, I guess, be automated
Hmm.
in terms of the follow up. Like I think
Hmm.
there's some people that just they only want to talk to a live person, or there's some people that will get really pissed if they find out that it's a bot or something else. So I mean, I think over
Yeah.
time that fixes itself, but like
Mhm.
we're probably in the gray area now where some people don't like it and some are fine with it because they appreciate that it's efficient.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, one thing about AI, having an AI platform, email and text is actually it's pretty hard to tell it's AI because
Right.
if you send an email or a text and it engages someone and they're like, yeah, I'm interested, the way a lot of AI platforms work, the one that we're using is it'll then just push for an appointment. So it's not trying to go deep, it's not trying to build rapport, it's just pushing for an appointment. And there's just a few, it's just talking about what time works. It's hard to even, we never get pushback on, is this an AI? We never do on email and text. Voice is a little different because voice you can kind of tell often. But so I think that's why it's good to have multi channels. People are getting more and more used to that. It's like when you call Verizon, often it's an AI agent, and people kind of you go through the motions with it. But I think it's not. I think it's good to not go all in on something that definitely sounds like AI, but have AI working through different channels. So like you said, you're picking up different people who may or may not like it. Yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
they still want to sell their house and they still want to set a time to talk to a live person.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you'd be an advocate for not trying to trick people into thinking it's not AI, just
Mhm.
the purpose is just to restart a conversation and
Yeah.
not to like try to get your AI to have these long detail, not to try to get your AI to build rapport with people, right?
Yeah, because first of all, AI is not good at that, and second of all, like I don't even know how that works. If you have a if an AI has a deep conversation with a seller and you kind of make commitments to each other in a way, it's like, well, now do I have to honor whatever that AI committed to, or I don't even know
Right.
how that even works. Beyond that, first of
You
all,
said you
they're
would
not.
pay twice the retail value. It's like,
You're right.
sorry, that was a robot. That was not even a human, you know?
Yeah. So beyond that, I think if AI got good enough to where it could build rapport, think about just the inauthentic businesses we'd all be running. Because we're buying houses from grandma. She thought we really cared. And then she realizes a year later it's just a robot. That robot didn't even care about her. So I think there's a fine line between where you stop AI and where you start the human conversation, especially in our business, because we're a we our business, we have to build trust, we have to build rapport. It's like a high ticket type of sales business, only we're the
Right.
buyer. So trust and true rapport and true trust matters. Now, if we're just selling widgets off Amazon, maybe AI could handle that because there's no emotions that need to be involved there. But with us,
Right.
for sure, it does. So I don't know that AI really ever in our business will get to the point where it's closing the whole sale. And I don't know that we want
Right.
it to because
Yeah.
we need to have true, real conversations with people.
And I think for,
So,
especially for real estate investors that
yeah.
are easing into AI at some point, like you don't have to
Mhm.
have it take over everything. Just have it
Yeah.
be one component, like we're talking about here, is kind of restarting a conversation or being good at follow up, and don't try to get it to like take over everything, right?
Yeah. For us, the line is set the appointment. Set the appointment with a human being. And then you see your lead manager's calendar start getting stacked up with appointments. That's the goal for us with AI.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
So there's a growing number of AI tools out there. Some of them obviously promise more than what they can actually do.
Mhm.
But I think the evolution here is going to continue to be rapid for sure.
Mhm.
And so what should people look for in AI tools that they could start to implement in their business? Like it's a big world out there. So what should they start looking for if they're looking for some way to be more efficient?
I think one of the main things would be, well, first of all, you want an AI platform that's actually reliable and proven, because there's a lot of just bots that are being built that, you turn this loose on your leads and you don't want you don't want to mess that up. So
Yeah.
assuming that's right, you want a platform that integrates with your CRM, because we don't want to start having to manage two systems. And a lot of people will say they integrate, but what does that really mean? For us, it means we want the CRM updated every time something happens on the AI side, like the stage has changed, the next steps are set up, the appointments are set up in the CRM, whatever that happens to be. So you want really good integration between a CRM and a platform. Otherwise, your life's going to be more complicated than it was before. You might as well
Yeah.
just go back to calling leads.
Right.
Um, and I think of an AI platform as an assistant to the CRM. CRM's the boss. CRM still controls follow up and engagement, but it's just asking the AI platform to go help it re-engage leads. So
Hmm.
an AI platform should be able to keep itself organized, have kind of a mini CRM inside it to organize its own leads from what has been scheduled, what hasn't been scheduled, that kind of thing. But it doesn't replace your regular CRM. So
Hmm.
that's another piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I know you do too, probably all the CRM owners in this industry. And I'm not saying that, I'm sure some of them are working on AI components or things that integrate. And in my experience, just with technology across the board, I think everybody can resonate with it. What I'm about to say here is like, whenever you find a tool that's like all in one that says it does everything, it usually does a couple things well
Mhm.
and a couple things terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, maybe you could talk about like, and I think with Zapier and integrations and all these things that kind
Mhm.
of exist these days where you can integrate different tools. I mean, that really is the way to go, is to find a couple things that are the best and find a way to integrate them together versus trying to find one solution that says it does everything all in one. Cause there's definitely going to be components of that you're disappointed in. Right.
I totally agree. I think the way to go is to be on a system that allows you to plug in the best platforms in the industry, whatever they are, whether it's AI, phone system. So I 100% agree with that. So there are all-in-one platforms that serve a need, but I think as you're growing as a real estate investor, you can't be the best at everything.
Right.
Um, so that's why, like, an AI platform that plugs in is yeah, that's the way to go. And have a CRM that allows that kind of has that philosophy and
Yeah.
allows
Yeah.
that
The
kind of
AI stuff is going to move so fast that,
yeah, yeah,
even if something is great right now, like it's going to evolve so fast that
it will.
you
Yeah.
got to be nimble if you need to make a change. So what are some best practices on how to kind of maintain these tools, because there's so much evolution moving so fast? Like how do you, um, what are your kind of words of wisdom there?
Yeah, I think, you know, one thing is with AI, it's easy to get a little distracted by the demos and the how impressive it might sound, how close to human demo might sound. And we want to remember that like that might help close rate if you have a demo or if you have a voice AI that sounds very much like a human. But it might not too. It might just be impressive, and a seller might see through that. What's important is the ROI. Like, does it actually set more appointments? Does it actually cause you to buy more deals? And it may not be all voice that you want. You might want a platform that, in fact, we have an AI platform right now. We don't actually use the voice feature right now. We have it turned on. We're going to start testing it out, but we just get a lot of success with email and text. And I mean, we increase our deal flow by 30% just with that. So, and I think the other thing is when you think about setting appointments, it doesn't need to be the most cutting edge AI out there. We don't need to get distracted by that. All we want is appointment set. That's it. We're not trying to be the latest cutting edge. Now, you want something that's keeping up with the industry, but remember, our goal here is just to set appointments and re-engage sellers. So if it does
Right.
that really well, it's gonna be a no-brainer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I know there's no way you have a crystal ball to know this, but what do you see happening with, well, like I guess AI for real estate investors in over the next few years, and regulation around that? Because I know that there's been a bunch of regulation, or certainly a lot of discussion about it, because um, the threat of how this could kind of take over the world or annoy people or whatever. So maybe let's first talk
Mhm.
about kind of where you see things going over the. Let's not look out so far that it's
Mhm.
like the Terminator era, but like
Yeah.
let's just look at like the next year or two. What do you see coming on? And then secondly, let's kind of talk about regulation.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Trump in office, he's more open to AI than otherwise it could have been. So that's gonna there's gonna be I think there's gonna be innovative solutions that allow AI to exist in business because so that's good. Now, I there's been talk about like with voice AI. I think that might be the part that gets regulated first, and I think there are some regulations around that right now. But so voice AI, like you still need opt-in. You can't just turn a voice bot on and just have it
Right.
cold call like crazy. You need some opt-in. There's TCPA rules around that. So there might be some more regulation that comes around that. But the ability to use AI in business, especially with Trump in office, is they're going to figure out a way to make that work because that's where the world's going.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
more
think
efficient
that's good.
to. You're
Yeah.
really just following up with or trying to convert leads you've already generated,
Yeah.
not necessarily how do we cold call 1 billion people every
Right.
hour. That's
Right.
that's the stuff that somebody could figure out how to do that, but that's the
Mhm.
stuff that's like super intrusive, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us a little bit about you have a platform called RiverX. Like maybe you could just take a moment and just tell us a little about that and how people can learn more.
Yeah, so we partnered with a company called WooSender about a year ago. WooSender is the leading conversational AI platform out there for sales teams. It's used by the U.S. military for their recruiting pipeline. So they use it to follow up with their recruits um, in high school and college. So very proven, very reliable platform. We partnered with them, customized it for real estate investors. Our brand is RiverX AI. So what we do is we provide access to that with customization for real estate investors, and then we integrate into your CRM, assuming you have a CRM that's integratable. And then yeah, so we started that about 6 months ago, and really started to push it in the past 30 days. So getting some people signed up, and it's helped. We're seeing a lot of it, benefits and improvements from it.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing. Yeah, I think the two things are kind of speed to lead, like getting
mhm.
somebody to schedule a call as quickly as possible, or even if I don't know what your like how you structure this, but there's a lot of people that don't answer the phone live, or certainly a web lead that comes in that people just don't move fast enough on. And then the
Yep.
long-term follow-up. I mean, I think the longest I've ever bought a house after the initial lead was generated was like 54 months later. But
Hmm.
we didn't have AI certainly back then, and it was just like very detailed of emails, tasks for people to call, which probably weren't happening like clockwork like AI
Right.
would. But the reality is we're marketing to people that have probably been distressed for years, if not decades. I mean, we've all bought houses that haven't been updated in literally 20, 30, 40 years. They still have shag carpet from the 70s or whatever.
Hmm.
But we expect them to make a decision to sell their house like that. It's like, no, they're distressed, and where there's smoke, there's fire. And, it's like you just have to stay on them because maybe they're not ready yet, but just give them time and they will be. And if you're not there tapping them on the shoulder with follow up, then you're going to miss out on that deal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times the reason they got into that situation is because they procrastinated and pushed their problems off. So they're,
Right.
they're going to push this solution off too. So we got
Right.
to continue to stay with them, even though that is the best solution for them.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, Brad, hey, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Hey, thank you, Mike. It was fun.
Yeah. Everybody, no matter where you're at, you gotta understand that technology is going to play a big role in separating those that thrive in this business from those that just either survive or maybe even get knocked out of business. So even if the tech stuff sounds a little scary, you've got to, you don't have to become a tech expert. You just have to work with people that know what they're doing, that can help integrate it into your systems and stuff. So we appreciate you guys joining us for the show today. Brad, thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.
And everybody, we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.